The Power You Speak, How Self-Fulfilling Words Shape Your Life, by David Russo. Introduction. The hidden architecture of your words. Pause for a moment and listen to the voice in your head. It has been speaking to you all day. It commented when you looked in the mirror. It reacted when you made a mistake. It whispered when you hesitated. It predicted what might go wrong. It narrated what you believe is possible. Most of us assume these words are harmless background noise, fleeting thoughts that simply describe reality. But what if they are not descriptions at all? What if they are instructions? What if every sentence you speak aloud or silently acts as a blueprint for your behavior, your confidence, your resilience, and ultimately, your future? Welcome to The Power You Speak. This audiobook is not about empty affirmations or pretending life is perfect. It is about something far more powerful and far more practical, understanding how language shapes biology, belief, and behavior, and learning to use that knowledge deliberately. Every word you speak sends signals to your brain. It influences how your nervous system responds. It alters what you notice, what you expect, and what you attempt. Repeated often enough, your words become mental patterns. Mental patterns become habits. Habits become outcomes. In other words, your language becomes architecture. If you repeatedly say, "I'm not good at this," your brain listens. It reduces effort. It scans for evidence that confirms the statement. It lowers persistence. The result? Performance declines and the prophecy appears true. But if you say, "I'm learning how to do this," something shifts. Curiosity replaces judgment. Effort increases. The brain stays open. Progress becomes possible. Same circumstance. Different sentence. Different trajectory. This is the hidden power of self-fulfilling words. Psychology calls it expectancy theory. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. Performance science calls it mindset. But at its core, it is simple. The words you repeat shape the person you become. This book will show you how. You will discover why the brain does not sharply distinguish between vividly imagined language and lived experience. You will learn how negative phrasing activates threat responses that narrow thinking, and how constructive language expands problem-solving capacity. You will uncover the quiet influence of internal dialogue, the subtle phrases that shrink your life, and the strategic vocabulary that expands it. More importantly, you will learn how to change it, because the goal is not forced positivity. It is intentional direction. Saying everything is amazing when it isn't creates denial. But saying, "This is difficult, and I am capable of handling it," creates strength. The difference is not optimism, it is alignment. It is choosing language that supports growth rather than sabotage. Throughout this audiobook, you will notice something powerful. Small shifts in wording create large shifts in identity. "I can't" becomes "I'm not yet able." "I always fail" becomes "I'm refining my approach." "I'm bad at relationships" becomes "I'm learning how to communicate better." These are not cosmetic changes. They are neurological ones. They are behavioral ones. They are transformational ones. Your internal dialogue has been rehearsing your future for years. If you listen closely, you can hear the script. Some of it was inherited from parents, teachers, culture, past experiences. Some of it was formed in moments of pain or embarrassment. Some of it was built from fear. But here is the empowering truth. Scripts can be rewritten. You are not required to continue speaking yesterday's limitations into tomorrow's life. The power you speak is not mystical. It is practical. It shows up in how you respond to setbacks, how you describe your goals, how you talk to the people you love, and how you define yourself when no one else is listening. Your words build confidence, or erode it. They create courage, or reinforce avoidance. They open doors, or quietly close them before you even knock. And the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. By the end of this journey, you will not simply be more aware of your language, you will be equipped to use it deliberately. You will learn how to transform limiting phrases into empowering ones without denying reality. You will practice daily rituals that strengthen constructive speech. You will understand how spoken commitments increase achievement. And you will see how your words can influence not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Because this is bigger than motivation. This is about authorship. You are already writing your future one sentence at a time. The question is, are you writing it by default or by design? In the chapters ahead, you will learn how to design it. Speak carefully. Speak intentionally. Speak powerfully. Chapter 1. Words as Blueprint. Why Language Builds Reality. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine biting into a fresh lemon. See the bright yellow skin. Feel the texture as you slice it open. Notice the scent, sharp, citrus, clean. Now imagine bringing that slice to your mouth and taking a bite. Did your mouth water? Nothing physically happened. There was no lemon. And yet your body responded. This is the power of language and imagery. The brain reacts to vividly described words as if they are experiences. It does not always wait for reality to confirm them. It prepares. It adjusts. It responds. And this is why your words are not harmless descriptions of life, they are blueprints for how you experience it. Most people believe they use language to report what is happening. I'm stressed. I'm bad with money. I'm not confident. These statements feel factual, neutral, observational, but your brain hears something different. It hears instructions. When you repeatedly say, I'm bad at public speaking, your mind begins scanning for proof. It highlights every stumble. It magnifies every awkward pause. It stores those memories more vividly than moments of competence. Gradually, the statement feels less like a thought and more like an identity. An identity drives behavior. If you believe you are bad at public speaking, you practice less. You avoid opportunities. You enter situations tense and defensive. Performance suffers not because you lack potential, but because your language built a mental structure that limited you. Words become architecture. They frame what you notice. They influence what you expect. They guide how you act. Research in psychology consistently shows that expectations shape outcomes. When students are told they are capable, performance rises. When athletes visualize success using detailed language, execution improves. When leaders speak possibility rather than fear, teams expand rather than contract. The mechanism is simple but profound. Language directs attention, attention directs behavior, and behavior produces results. Consider the difference between these two internal statements. I have to do this. I get to do this. One implies burden. The other implies opportunity. The task itself has not changed, but your posture toward it has. Energy shifts. Motivation shifts. Creativity shifts. The blueprint has changed. Here is a powerful truth. Your brain is constantly constructing meaning from your words. It takes repeated phrases and turns them into mental shortcuts, automatic pathways that require little effort to travel. Over time, these pathways become your default reactions. If your default language is limiting, your default life will feel smaller. But if your default language is expansive, grounded, honest, yet forward-moving, your life begins to expand with it. This is not about denying difficulty. Saying everything is perfect when it isn't will not build resilience. But saying, this is challenging and I'm capable of learning, creates forward motion. It builds psychological flexibility. It keeps the door open. Language does not need to be exaggerated to be empowering. It needs to be intentional. The story you tell about a setback determines whether it becomes a lesson or a label. I failed because I'm not good enough builds shame. I failed because I need a different strategy builds growth. One sentence closes the future. The other redesigns it. As you move through this chapter, begin noticing the phrases you use most often, especially the small, casual ones. The offhand remarks. The jokes at your own expense. The subtle disclaimers before you try something new. These are not random. They are structural beams in the house of your identity. If you don't choose them consciously, they will be chosen by habit, history, or fear. But here is the empowering reality. Blueprints can be revised. You can decide that I'm terrible at this becomes I'm developing this skill. You can shift from that's just how I am to I'm allowed to evolve. You can move from I can't to I'm not there yet. Small changes. Massive implications. Your words today are quietly constructing your tomorrow. So speak as a builder. Speak as an architect. Speak as someone designing a life, not merely describing one. Because whether you realize it or not, every sentence is laying a brick. The question is not whether your words are shaping your reality. The question is, what are they building? Chapter 2. The Biology of Belief. How Words Change the Brain. Your words are not just sounds, they are chemical events. Every time you speak out loud or internally, your brain responds. Neurons fire. Circuits activate. Hormones shift. Your body adjusts to match the meaning of the sentence. This is not metaphor. It is biology. Imagine you say, "I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle this." Instantly, your brain interprets threat. The amygdala, the part responsible for detecting danger, activates. Stress hormones like cortisol begin to rise. Your muscles tense. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your focus narrows. This response is helpful if you are escaping a burning building. It is not helpful if you are preparing for a presentation, solving a problem, or having a difficult conversation. Now imagine a different sentence. "This is a lot, but I can take it one step at a time." The situation has not changed. The workload is the same. But the language signals something different to the brain. Instead of pure threat, it communicates challenge with capacity. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, planning, and decision-making, stays more engaged. You remain calmer, more strategic, more capable. Different words, different chemistry, different outcome. This is the biology of belief. Repeated language strengthens neural pathways. The brain follows the principle of neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together wire together. The more you repeat a phrase, the more efficient that mental pathway becomes. Over time, it turns into your default response. If you constantly repeat, "I'm not confident," your brain rehearses insecurity. It builds efficiency around self-doubt. It becomes easier and faster to access that state. But if you consistently say, "I'm building confidence through action," your brain begins wiring effort with growth. Confidence becomes associated with movement, not perfection. You are literally training your nervous system with your vocabulary. Consider how often people speak absolute language. "I always mess this up. I never get it right. I'm terrible under pressure." The brain absorbs these statements as stable truths. It stops looking for exceptions. It filters out evidence that contradicts them. Over time, belief hardens, but here is the empowering truth: the brain is not fixed. It is adaptive. Every new intentional phrase is a small neurological interruption, a new instruction, a new direction. When you replace "I'm bad at this" with "I'm learning this," you create cognitive flexibility. The brain shifts from defense to development. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to motivation and reward, becomes more active when progress feels possible. Hope is not just emotional, it is chemical. This is why positive language, when realistic and grounded, increases resilience. It does not ignore difficulty. It frames it in a way that keeps your system open instead of shutting it down. Think of your words as software updates for your mind. Outdated programs say, "Avoid risk. Stay small. Don't try." Updated programs say, "Test. Adjust. Improve." One keeps you safe but stagnant. The other keeps you growing. And here is something even more powerful. Your body listens to your internal dialogue even when no one else can hear it. Silent self-criticism triggers stress responses. Silent encouragement stabilizes them. The conversation in your head is shaping your biology all day long. So ask yourself, what chemistry am I rehearsing? What pathways am I strengthening? What belief am I building? You do not need to fake confidence. You need to practice constructive language consistently enough that your brain begins to believe it. Start small. Instead of "I can't handle stress," try, "I'm developing better stress management." Instead of "I'm anxious," try, "My body is activated and I can calm it." Instead of "I'm failing," try, "I'm adjusting my approach." Each sentence is a signal. Each signal shapes your system. Over time, those signals become identity. Your brain is always listening. Your nervous system is always adapting. Your beliefs are always under construction. Speak in a way that builds strength at the biological level, because when you change your words, you are not just changing your mindset point, you are changing your mind. Chapter 3. Internal Dialogue, the quiet voice that shapes everything. There is a voice that follows you everywhere. It speaks when you wake up. It comments when you make a mistake. It reacts when someone criticizes you. It whispers before you take a risk. Most of the time, you don't even notice it. But this quiet voice, your internal dialogue, is shaping your confidence, your courage, your resilience, and your results more than any external circumstance ever could. You can change your job. You can change your environment. You can even change your relationships. But wherever you go, your inner voice goes with you. And if that voice is harsh, doubtful, or limiting, it will color every opportunity before you even step into it. Many people believe confidence comes from achievements. When I succeed, I'll feel better about myself, but in reality, achievement often follows internal permission. And permission is granted through language. If your internal dialogue says, "Don't try," you'll embarrass yourself, you hesitate. If it says, "You're not ready," you wait. If it says, "Other people are better," you shrink. Over time, hesitation becomes habit. Waiting becomes identity. Shrinking becomes normal. This is how silent sentences create visible limitations. But here is the empowering truth. Your inner voice is not fixed. It is learned. And what is learned can be retrained. The first step is awareness. Begin listening to how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. Not when everything is easy, but when you miss the mark. When you forget something important. When you fall short of your own expectations. Do you say, "I'm so stupid. I always mess this up. What's wrong with me?" Or do you say, "That didn't go the way I wanted. What can I learn from this? I can adjust and try again." One pattern attacks identity. The other addresses behavior. This distinction is critical. When you attack identity, you create shame. Shame shuts down growth. It narrows thinking. It drains motivation. When you address behavior, you create improvement. Improvement invites action. It keeps your mind open. It preserves your sense of worth while refining your strategy. Your internal dialogue should function like a coach, not a critic. A critic points out flaws and leaves you discouraged. A coach points out adjustments and leaves you determined. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply care about. You would not call them hopeless after one mistake. You would not define them by a single failure. You would encourage effort. You would remind them of their strengths. You would help them see possibility. Why should you deserve less from yourself? This does not mean ignoring weaknesses. It means addressing them constructively. It means replacing "I am bad at this" with "This is a skill I'm developing." It means shifting from "I'll never change" to "Growth takes repetition." Repetition is powerful. Every time you interrupt a negative automatic thought and replace with a balanced, forward-moving sentence, you weaken the old pathway and strengthen a new one. It may feel unnatural at first. That is normal. New patterns always do, but with consistency, your inner voice begins to change tone. It becomes steadier, more grounded, more resilient. And when your internal dialogue shifts, your behavior follows. You take more risks, you recover faster, you interpret setbacks as feedback instead of proof of inadequacy. The quiet voice inside you is narrating your life in real time. The question is it telling a story of limitation or growth? You do not have to silence the voice. You have to train it. Choose sentences that strengthen you. Choose words that allow evolution. Choose language that aligns with the person you are becoming, because long before the world hears what you say, you have already heard it yourself, and the story you repeat internally will eventually become the life you live externally. Chapter 4. The vocabulary of limitation. Words that shrink your life. There are phrases so common, so casual, that we rarely question them. "I'm just not that type of person. I can't help it. That's just how I am. I'll probably fail anyway." They sound harmless, honest, even. But hidden inside these sentences is something powerful: permission to stay the same. Limiting language does not usually shout. It whispers. It disguises itself as realism. It pretends to protect you from disappointment. But in reality, it builds invisible walls around your potential. Every time you say, "I'm not good at networking," you subtly withdraw from conversations. You show up guarded. You exit early. The outcome reinforces the belief. Every time you say, "I can't change," you stop looking for tools. You stop experimenting. You stop trying. The brain hears finality and stops searching for alternatives. Language like this closes doors before you ever reach for the handle. And the most dangerous part: repetition turns these phrases into identity. "When I struggle with discipline" becomes "I'm undisciplined." You move from describing behavior to defining self. Behavior can change. Identity feels permanent. But identity, too, is shaped by language. The vocabulary of limitation is built on 3 subtle patterns. First, absolutes. Words like always, never, everyone, no one. "I always mess up. I never get it right." These exaggerations train the brain to ignore exceptions. They erase evidence of competence. Second, labels. "I'm lazy. I'm awkward. I'm bad with money. Labels compress complex human behavior into fixed categories. They eliminate nuance. They discourage growth. Third, helpless phrasing. I can't help it. I have no choice. It is what it is. These statements remove agency. And when you remove agency, you remove action. Here is the truth. Most limiting phrases are not facts. They are habits, and habits can be replaced. This does not mean swinging to unrealistic positivity. It means shifting to constructive accuracy. Instead of I'm terrible at this, try, I haven't mastered this yet. Instead of I can't change, try, I haven't found the right strategy yet. Instead of that's just how I am, try, that's how I've been but I'm allowed to evolve. Notice the difference. These sentences are not exaggerated. They are honest. But they keep the future open. Open language creates open possibilities. When you add the word yet, you introduce growth. When you replace always with sometimes, you introduce balance. When you shift from I am to I'm learning, you introduce movement, small edits. Massive implications. Think of your words as doors. Some sentences lock you inside old patterns. Others open pathways forward. Every time you speak, you choose which type of door you're installing in your life, so begin paying attention to the phrases you use when you're frustrated, tired, or discouraged. That is when limiting language slips out most easily. That is when your guard is down. Catch the sentence. Pause. Reframe it, not to deny reality, but to redirect it, because the words you repeat today become the beliefs you live tomorrow. You are not required to keep speaking yesterday's limitations into today's decisions. You are allowed to update your vocabulary. You are allowed to revise your identity. You are allowed to outgrow the phrases that once protected you but now restrict you. Your life expands to the edges of the language you permit. So choose words that stretch you. Choose words that allow growth. Choose words that keep the door open. Because when you change your vocabulary, you don't just change what you say, you change what you believe is possible. Chapter 5. Empowering language. Words that open doors. There is a difference between language that limits you and language that lifts you. Limiting language closes possibilities before they begin. Empowering language creates movement, even in uncertainty. This chapter is about learning to speak in a way that opens doors instead of quietly locking them. Empowering language is not about pretending everything is easy. It is not forced positivity. It is not denial of difficulty. It is strategic wording that keeps you engaged, capable, and growing. Consider the difference between these two statements. This is too hard. This is challenging, and I can figure it out. Both acknowledge difficulty. But only one preserves your power. When you say, this is too hard, your brain searches for escape. When you say, I can figure it out, your brain searches for solutions. The situation has not changed, but your neurological response has. Empowering language activates agency. Agency is the belief that your actions matter. And when you believe your actions matter, effort increases. Creativity increases. Resilience increases. Here are a few subtle but powerful shifts. I have to becomes I choose to. I'll try becomes I will take the first step. I'm not ready becomes I'm preparing. I'm not confident becomes I'm building confidence through action. Notice that none of these statements are unrealistic. They are grounded. But they move you forward. Empowering language also shifts identity. Instead of focusing only on outcomes, it focuses on who you are becoming. I want to run a marathon becomes I'm becoming someone who trains consistently. I want to be successful becomes I'm becoming disciplined and focused. When you speak in identity-based language, you align your behavior with your future self. Your actions begin to match the story you're telling about who you are. This is how doors open. Your words influence how you see challenges. If you describe setbacks as proof of inadequacy, you retreat. If you describe them as feedback, you refine your approach. Feedback creates growth. Failure language creates fear. Empowering language also strengthens emotional stability. Instead of saying, I'm stressed, try, I'm managing a lot right now. Instead of, I'm overwhelmed, try, I need to prioritize. One sentence signals chaos. The other signals control. The words you choose shape your posture mentally and physically. They influence how you walk into rooms, how you speak in meetings, how you respond in conflict, how you recover after mistakes. Imagine waking up and saying, today will probably be exhausting. Now imagine saying, today will require energy, and I'm capable of meeting it. Which version of you shows up stronger? Empowering language does not eliminate effort. It fuels it. It reminds you that growth is possible. It reminds you that progress is earned. It reminds you that difficulty does not equal defeat. The most powerful words you can speak begin with, I am becoming. I am learning. I am capable of. I handle challenges by. These phrases create direction. They move your identity forward rather than freezing it in the past. And here is something important. Empowering language must be repeated. Once is inspiration. Repetition is transformation. The more consistently you speak possibility, the more natural it feels. The more natural it feels, the more aligned your actions become. The more aligned your actions become, the more evidence you gather that your empowering words are true. And that evidence builds confidence. Doors rarely swing open by accident. They open when you approach them with belief, effort, and persistence. Your words determine whether you knock. So speak in ways that expand you. Speak in ways that strengthen you. Speak in ways that move you toward the person you are becoming, because every empowering sentence is a step forward, and sometimes, the door you've been waiting for opens the moment you decide to speak differently. Chapter 6, Conversation as Creation. The impact of words on relationships. Words do not exist in isolation. They travel. They land. They linger. What you say to others does more than fill silence. It shapes connection, trust, and emotional safety. In every conversation, you are either building a bridge or constructing a wall. Relationships are not built only on shared experiences. They are built on shared language. Think about the difference between these two responses. You never listen. I don't feel heard right now. The first attacks character. The second expresses experience. One invites defensiveness. The other invites dialogue. The words are similar. The outcomes are not. Conversation is creative. It creates atmosphere. It creates identity within relationships. It creates the emotional climate people associate with you. When someone consistently hears encouragement from you, they begin to associate you with safety and strength. When someone consistently hears criticism or sarcasm, they begin to associate you with tension. Over time, these associations define a relationship. And here is something powerful. The language you use with others often reflects the language you use with yourself. If your inner dialogue is harsh, your outer dialogue may be sharp. If your internal voice is patient, your external voice often follows. So improving your relationships begins with intentional speech. Affirming language strengthens connection. I appreciate how hard you're working. I believe in you. Thank you for handling that. These phrases may feel simple, but they have lasting impact. Affirmation activates confidence in others. It reinforces effort. It deepens trust. Criticism, on the other hand, must be handled carefully. There is a difference between constructive feedback and destructive labeling. Your careless attacks identity. There was an error here. Let's review it together. Addresses behavior. When correction focuses on behavior rather than character, growth remains possible without damaging dignity. During conflict, language becomes even more important. Emotion rises. Defensiveness increases. And careless words can create wounds that outlast the original issue. Instead of saying, "You always do this," try, "This pattern has been frustrating for me." Instead of, "You don't care," try, "I need more reassurance." Intentional language lowers the emotional temperature. It keeps the bridge intact even when tension rises. Your words also shape how people see themselves. A child repeatedly told, "You're responsible," grows into responsibility. A team repeatedly told, "We solve problems," becomes solution-oriented. A partner repeatedly told, "We can work through this," develops resilience. Language assigns identity, not only to yourself, but to others. And remember, silence speaks too. Withholding encouragement, appreciation, or gratitude solely erodes connection. Relationships thrive on expressed affirmation, not assumed understanding. If you think something positive about someone, say it. If you value someone, tell them. If you believe in someone, remind them. Those words may echo longer than you realize. Every conversation is an opportunity to reinforce strength rather than insecurity, to create closeness rather than distance, to speak hope rather than fear. You cannot control how others respond, but you can control the tone you bring into the room. Speak to build, speak to clarify, speak to uplift, because long after the details of a conversation fade, People remember how your words made them feel, and the legacy of your life will not only be defined by what you achieved, but by what you consistently spoke into the lives of others. Choose words that create connection. Choose words that create growth. Choose words that create the kind of relationships you want to live inside. Chapter 7. Spoken Goals. How Verbal Commitments Drive Achievement. There is something powerful that happens the moment a goal leaves your mind and enters the air. It becomes real. A dream kept silent feels optional, flexible, easy to postpone, but a goal spoken aloud carries weight. It creates clarity. It creates commitment. It creates direction. When you say, "One day I'd like to write a book," your brain hears possibility. When you say, "I am writing a book, and I complete 1 page a day," your brain hears instruction. Spoken goals transform vague desire into structured intention. Research in performance psychology shows that clarity increases follow-through. The brain works more efficiently when it knows exactly what it is aiming for. Language sharpens that aim. The more specific the words, the clearer the target. "I want to get in shape" is abstract. "I train for 30 minutes every weekday" is actionable. One is a wish. The other is a commitment. But there is another layer: identity. When you say, "I'm trying to save money," effort feels temporary. When you say, "I am becoming financially disciplined," behavior aligns with identity. Identity-based statements are powerful because people act consistently with who they believe they are. If you identify as someone who finishes what they start, you are more likely to persist. If you identify as someone who gives up easily, you unconsciously reinforce that pattern. Your spoken goals should reinforce the person you are becoming. Try phrases like, "I am building the habit of," "I am the kind of person who," "I complete," "I follow through on." These are not exaggerations. They are declarations of direction. There is also power in accountability. When you share a clear goal with someone you respect, your commitment deepens. The brain associates social visibility with responsibility. You become more likely to act because your words now exist beyond you. But accountability is not about pressure. It is about alignment. It is about making your external language match your internal desire. Another powerful tool is the micro-commitment. Instead of saying, "I will transform my life this year," say, "Today, I complete 1 focused hour." Instead of, "I'll never procrastinate again," say, "Right now, I begin." Spoken micro-commitments reduce overwhelm and increase momentum. And momentum builds confidence. When you hear yourself say, "I finish what I start," and then you follow through even in small ways, you gather evidence. That evidence strengthens belief. That belief strengthens action. Action strengthens identity. It becomes a cycle of reinforcement. Be careful, however, with careless language around goals. "I'll try" weakens intention. "I hope" softens commitment. Maybe introduces escape. Replace them with decisive phrasing. "I will begin," "I commit to," "I complete," "I adjust if needed," "but I do not quit." Your words set expectations for your behavior. If you speak casually about your goals, you treat them casually. If you speak about them with clarity and ownership, you treat them with respect. And here is something important: spoken goals should be repeated. Not obsessively, not anxiously, but consistently. Remind yourself who you are becoming. Remind yourself what you are building. Remind yourself what matters, because distractions are loud. Doubt is persistent. Fatigue is real. But clear language cuts through noise. When you speak your goals with conviction, you train your mind to look for opportunities aligned with them. You notice resources you would have ignored. You recognize openings you would have missed. Your words create focus. Focus creates progress. So do not let your ambitions live only in thought. Speak them, shape them, strengthen them. Because once a goal is spoken with intention, it is no longer just an idea. It becomes a commitment to the future version of you who is listening. Chapter 8. We're writing your story. Transforming old narratives. Every person lives inside a story. Not the story others see on the surface, but the private narrative running quietly beneath daily life. It sounds like this: "I've always struggled. I'm not the successful type. People like me don't get ahead. I'm just not confident." These sentences may feel factual. They may even feel permanent. But they are not destiny. They are narrative stories formed from past experiences, repeated often enough to feel true. And here is the empowering truth: stories can be rewritten. Many of your current beliefs were shaped in moments of emotion. a childhood embarrassment, a harsh criticism, a painful failure. At the time, your brain did what it does best. It created meaning to protect you. If I'm not good at this, I won't try again. If I expect rejection, I won't be surprised. If I stay small, I won't be disappointed. Those narratives may have once felt safe. But safety is not the same as growth. The problem is not that you have a story. The problem is when you forget that you are the author. Old narratives often follow predictable patterns. They exaggerate failure. They minimize strength. They ignore progress. They treat temporary setbacks as permanent identity. I failed becomes I am a failure. I was rejected becomes I am unworthy. I struggled becomes I will always struggle. But what if those events were chapters, not conclusions? Rewriting your story does not mean denying what happened. It means reinterpreting it with maturity and strength. Instead of, I've always been bad with money, try, I didn't learn financial skills early, but I can learn them now. Instead of, I'm not leadership material, try, I haven't developed leadership skills yet, but I am capable of growth. The facts remain. The future changes. When you question an old narrative, you loosen its grip. Ask yourself, is this absolutely true? Is this always true? What evidence contradicts this belief? Who would I be without this story? These questions create space. And space allows possibility. You are not required to carry outdated definitions of yourself. Maybe you were once disorganized. That does not mean you must remain so. Maybe you once lacked confidence. That does not mean confidence is unavailable to you. Maybe you once failed publicly. That does not mean success is forbidden. Your past informs you. It does not imprison you. Rewriting your story requires repetition. The brain holds on to familiar narratives because they feel predictable. A new story must be rehearsed intentionally. I am learning discipline. I am building resilience. I am becoming more confident each time I act. At first, these statements may feel unfamiliar. That is natural. Growth always feels unfamiliar before it feels authentic. That as you act in alignment with the new narrative, even in small ways, you collect evidence. That evidence strengthens belief. Belief strengthens identity, and identity shapes destiny. You are both the writer and the main character of your life. You cannot erase previous chapters, but you can decide how the story moves forward. The question is not whether your past contained difficulty. It is whether that difficulty defines your ending. Choose a narrative that honors your strength. Choose language that reflects growth. Choose a story that allows evolution, because the moment you rewrite the meaning of your past, you change the direction of your future, and the pen has been in your hand all along. Chapter 9. Rituals of Spoken Power. Daily practices that strengthen self-fulfillment. Change does not happen by accident. It happens by design. And the most effective way to design change is through daily rituals, small, intentional acts that reinforce the language of growth and possibility. Your words, repeated consistently, are the most powerful tool you have to shape your mind, your habits, and ultimately, your life. Rituals of spoken power are simple, but their impact compounds over time. They train your brain, calm your nervous system, and align your identity with your goals. They ensure that your language is not random, reactive, or shaped only by stress, but deliberate, constructive, and empowering. One of the most effective rituals is the morning identity statement. Before the chaos of the day begins, take a moment to speak aloud who you are becoming. I am focused, resilient, and capable of handling today's challenges. These words set the tone. They signal to your brain how to perceive the day ahead. They are a blueprint your mind follows without conscious effort. Another powerful ritual is real-time reframing. During the day, you will catch yourself slipping into limiting language. I can't, this is too much, I'll probably fail. Instead of ignoring it, pause and speak an alternative sentence. This is challenging, and I am capable of finding a solution. Small course corrections like these prevent negative self-talk from taking root. They retrain your nervous system to respond with resilience rather than defeat. Evening integration reflections are equally important. Take a few minutes before bed to review the day through the lens of growth. Speak aloud, today I learned, I adapted, and I made progress. These words consolidate experience, turning daily action into long-term identity. They strengthen the neural pathways that link effort to accomplishment, making growth feel natural over time. Environmental prompts can also reinforce your spoken rituals. Place sticky notes with empowering statements, or you'll see them on your mirror, your desk, or your phone. Surround yourself with reminders of the language you want to embody. Words influence your perception more than most people realize. Creating a supportive environment allows you to speak intentionally without constant conscious effort. Finally, consider challenges like the 24-hour vocabulary exercise. For a full day, commit to speaking only words that build possibility, encourage growth, and align with your desired identity. Notice how often casual phrases or jokes shrink your potential. Replace them immediately with intentional alternatives. By the end of the day, you'll have a tangible sense of how much your words shape your experience and influence others around you. The common thread in all these practices is repetition. Language is not magic, but it is cumulative. Each phrase spoken intentionally reinforces neural pathways, strengthens identity, and increases agency. Every day you repeat empowering words, you create momentum. Every day you allow limiting language to go unchecked, you reinforce old patterns. Rituals of spoken power are about more than words. They are about designing your internal environment, training your nervous system, and aligning your identity with who you are becoming. They transform abstract ideas into actionable, repeatable habits that produce measurable change. When spoken consistently, your words cease to be just thoughts. They become your personal infrastructure, shaping your actions, relationships, and life outcomes. Speak with intention, repeat with purpose, live with consistency. Every ritual, every phrase, every day builds the life your words are designed to create. Chapter 10. Living a spoken legacy. Words that outlast you. Your words do not exist only in the moment. They ripple outward, shaping the people around you and, ultimately, the world you leave behind. Every sentence you speak carries influence, sometimes subtle, sometimes profound, and that influence often lasts far longer than you imagine. This is your spoken legacy. Consider the teacher who tells a student, "I believe in your ability." That single phrase can echo through decades, shaping confidence, ambition, and self-belief. Consider the parent who says, "You are capable of anything you set your mind to." That sentence becomes a framework for identity, a mental architecture that shapes choices, courage, and resilience. Your words, repeated and intentional, create a blueprint for the future, not just for yourself, but for everyone who hears them. A spoken legacy is built on consistency. One-off encouragements are powerful, but the real impact comes when your words are predictable, reliable, and aligned with growth. Teams, families, and communities thrive when reinforcement, affirmation, and constructive guidance become the norm. When your language models resilience, empathy, and integrity, it becomes a template for others to follow. This is why intentional speech is so critical. Careless criticism, sarcasm, or negativity can also leave a lasting imprint, but rarely the one you would choose. Words that diminish, shame, or belittle do not vanish. They echo in the minds of those who hear them, shaping self-perception, limiting potential, and creating emotional scars. Your legacy is shaped not only by what you do, but by how you speak, and how often you lift or limit others with your language. To build a spoken legacy, begin with awareness. Notice how your words affect others. Then choose language that reinforces possibility. Speak encouragement. Speak belief. Speak identity and growth. Even small phrases, "I know you can handle this," "I trust your judgment," "You are learning every day," compound over time, creating a culture of capability and hope. Legacy also requires courage. It means speaking truths that empower rather than placate. It means giving guidance that challenges and inspires rather than comforts without growth. It means showing, through language, that you see the potential in others, even when they cannot yet see it themselves. The most enduring spoken legacies often begin quietly: a parent encouraging a child, a mentor guiding a student, a leader affirming a team. Over time, those repeated words form invisible scaffolding, strengthening confidence, shaping choices, and instilling values. Your words can teach courage, compassion, resilience, and integrity long after you are gone. You do not need fame, fortune, or a platform to leave a legacy. You only need intention. Every conversation, every encouragement, every deliberate phrase contributes to a legacy that outlasts your presence. The question is, what kind of echo do you want your words to leave? Speak to inspire. Speak to empower. Speak to build the lives of others even as you build your own. Because the truest measure of a life well lived is not only in achievements, it is in the words that continue to shape the world long after you have spoken them. Your legacy begins today. Choose your words wisely. Speak with purpose. Leave echoes worth following. Conclusion. Becoming the author of your future. Every word you speak is a choice. Every sentence carries energy, intent, and consequence. By now, you've seen how words shape your brain, your behaviors, your relationships, and even your destiny. But the ultimate lesson is simple. What you say, repeatedly and intentionally, becomes who you are. Your words are not just reflections of your thoughts, they are architects of your reality. When you say, "I can't," your mind hears limitation. When you say, "I'm learning," your mind hears possibility. When you say, "I am becoming," your mind sees a path forward. The life you want is not built by luck, circumstance, or sheer willpower. It is built, word by word, day by day, through deliberate language that aligns with your goals and your vision. Self-improvement is not a single action. It is a conversation with yourself and with the world that evolves continuously. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible either cage you or free you. The sentences you speak out loud either inspire action or cement hesitation. Every phrase is a seed, and the garden you grow depends on which seeds you plant and nurture consistently. You have the tools to rewrite your internal dialogue, to choose empowering language, to speak goals that drive achievement, and to leave a legacy that outlives you. These tools are simple but profound, and they work not because they are magical, but because your mind, body, and environment respond to words with consistency and intention. The repetition of growth-focused language reshapes your identity. It trains your nervous system. It strengthens confidence. It opens doors you didn't even know existed. The final truth is this: you are the author of your future. Every thought, every word, every sentence contributes to the narrative you live. You cannot erase the past, but you can reinterpret it. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control your response. And most importantly, you can choose the words that define who you are becoming. Speak deliberately. Speak courageously. Speak in alignment with the life you want to create. Build rituals that reinforce your identity. Reframe challenges as opportunities. Affirm growth in yourself and in others. And repeat. Repeat until the words stop being effortful and start being second nature, until they are no longer sentences, but truths you embody. The life you imagine is waiting on the other side of your language. It begins with the words you choose today. Every morning, every conversation, every moment, you are writing the story of your life. Make it intentional. Make it powerful. Make it yours, because when you speak with purpose, you do more than communicate, you create. Your life is listening.